Merry Gingermas, everybody! Welcome to the first annual Gingermas. I have a very special guest on tonight's show. Mr. Gary Robbins will be joining us. We're giving away so much stuff that I'm super excited. Gary's super excited. We have our ginger beards in full effect. I got the fireplace, I got the tree, I got the stocking, I've got my holiday beverage, Christmas movies, everything. I'm really excited for tonight. Because it was, wait, I gotta read this right. 'Twas 5 nights before Christmas. 1, 2, 3. No, it's 4 now. I've already messed this up. 'Twas 4 nights before Christmas when I learned of this run.
It's actually 3.
Thanks, Gary. All right, great. 'Twas 3 nights before Gingermas when I learned of this run. Armed with an iPhone, with Strava, I set off for some fun. My ultras were giddy with the miles they devour, and I ran through the city for many an hour. Gingermas, Gingermas, Frosty is here. Gingermas, Gingermas, I so need a beer. I'm waxing too prolific, it's time to make do with a smile and a twinkle and a great big thank you. Merry Gingermas, everybody. Welcome to the show. Ho, ho, ho! Yeah! Merry
All right.
Gingermas! Excellent, excellent. I cannot take credit for the poetic words. Those actually came from a Ginger Runner fan named, I got to get his name right, Jeff Schmidt. Jeff Schmidt wrote that and emailed it along with his Strava for the Gingermas Run Hunt this last weekend. So, Jeff, a big shout out to you. You, my friend, are going to be the first giveaway of the night because you wrote such an awesome poem. I am giving you a Trainer Beer t-shirt. You get a t-shirt. You get a Ginger Runner.
Just like that.
Just like that. That's what tonight's going to be all about, just giving it to you. So drop me an email. You emailed me earlier. Drop me an email, and I will...
Ethan's going to give it to you all night long.
It's already started. So here is voice in the background there. I have to introduce him. I'm so glad to have him back, by the way. We had him on an earlier Ginger Runner Live, and the internet signal was terrible. I was still working out technical difficulties. He's back. We are literally miles apart now since I'm still in Vancouver, and he lives in Vancouver. He has a full, luscious ginger beard, which is perfect for Gingermas. He's technically Ginger Claus tonight because he's giving away a bunch of stuff. Gary Robbins. Yeah!
Woo! All right. It works. It works. We can hear each other this time.
I know.
It's because you're in Canada. You don't have to use that American dial-up anymore.
Oh, it's terrible. They throttle us so hard down there. What a great start. Throttling.
That's right. He's going to give it to you all night long because they throttle him in the States.
Oh, it wouldn't be Gingermas if there wasn't innuendo or inappropriate talking. So tonight I'm going to be enjoying a nice holiday beverage. It's called the Winter Miracle Winter Ale. This is a local brew. I just liked the Winter Miracle because tonight we're going to be making miracles happen across the globe. And Gary, I'm really stoked to have you on, man. We've been able to go running a couple times in the past couple months, and most recently last week I actually got to spend some miles with you, and we got to talk about Squamish 50/50, your race that you direct every year. We'll actually be giving away one of the entries to that race on tonight's show.
Yes, we will. That's right.
You're one of my favorite race directors. You're one of my favorite people. You have one of my favorite beards, and you're an incredible runner from Team Solomon. And I want to talk to you tonight about one race that you did in particular, the Sky Race. Tell us a little bit about this race, where it takes place, how you got into this one, and why this was such a big deal for you this year, because it was pretty intense.
Yeah, so straight into it. I'll be drinking red wine tonight, as
Yes.
I've covered in the past. The gluten allergy doesn't do me so well, so the wine does me good. This is a vintage cheapest box on the shelf. There's 4 liters of it just around the corner from here. So that's for my overdeveloped palate. Solomon Skyrun, 100-kilometer race in South Africa. And it was only, I think, 3-4 weeks ago now. Actually, I think it's a month ago to the day, to be honest. The 22nd, I believe, was race day in November. 100K in South Africa, and the Skyrun has actually been around for 17 years, I think. So they created the Skyrun name. Now there's the Sky Running series, but Skyrun South Africa actually preceded that. So a lot of history to that race, and I got an invitation to partake in this back in the spring. I got an email that basically was saying, hey, do you want to come run in South Africa? So I got super excited, obviously, and said, yes, I would love to come run in South Africa. And about 8 weeks later, Ian Corliss, Talk Ultra, he was going to be there as well. He was actually facilitating a lot of the athletes that were the international athletes that were going to be there. And in an email exchange, he brought up the navigation components of the race. And I realized that in the initial email, I had gotten overly excited and decided not to read the entire email. And at the bottom of that email was the fact that there wasn't going to be a single flag placed for the entire 100 kilometers.
Oh my God!
Through the Witberg mountain range of South Africa. So I come from an adventure racing background. I've done expedition races. It's something that I loved. Have a decent resume of adventure racing, but I was not. I'm actually a terrible navigator. I am a smart man, though, because I always found the best navigators and made sure that they were well taken care of on the team, and we had a competitive team because of it. But the few races I did as an individual where I had to navigate did not go so well, to say the least. So
Yeah.
I was so I was quite concerned about this event going in terms of not being able to fully navigate map and compass. Doing a little bit more research, found out that they actually provide a GPS file that you can load onto a device, and then you can follow that GPS file. So you don't need to use map and compass, but it still opens up the navigation elements of the race. I was fortunate that I freed up my schedule enough. I could go over a little bit earlier. I got to South Africa a week in advance, met the crew. They took great care of me, and some local runners came up to help me do some course scouting. And we fired up the Sunto Ambit, product plug right there.
We both got them on, yeah.
That's right. The Ambit 2, you have the Ambit 3, I think, right there.
Yeah,
and fired it up. Yep, put the GPS file on there, and it was incredible. There was another South African runner with me. Christian Grayling, the husband of Landy Grayling, and Landy is a Solomon-based runner as well, Solomon-sponsored runner. And within 20 minutes, we realized that this watch was going to do it for us. If you were 5 meters off trail, you knew you were off trail. So we did some scouting throughout the week. I got a good feel for the layout of the course, and come race morning, I had a quiet confidence to the fact that I thought I was going to have a good day. The best field of runners, ultra runners, South Africa had ever assembled, according to them. And Nick Clark from the U.S. was there. Philip Reiter from Germany was there. So it was definitely a good field of runners. And started early. You started by headlamp and started in a town, and then headed out onto the trails. And right away, within 5 minutes, you realize that even though there's a line that you can follow on your GPS map, it's still how you read that line and how you read the terrain. There wasn't trails over a lot of this terrain. It was just you're going to get from here to there, so you select the best way to get to that point. And oh, it's drinking time. The fire behind you. You have to drink when the guy changes. Yeah, that's a rule. Drink, everybody, drink.
As they stoke the fire, it's time to drink.
Stoke the fire, it's time to drink. All right. So the race, the 100-kilometer distance, I would sum it up by saying that about 30 kilometers, 25 kilometers of that was on service road. Okay. So, and then out of the remaining 75K, you had about 50% that was, I wouldn't even say single track, I'd say half track, and the other half was just no trail, and it's similar to alpine running. There was no real vegetation or anything there. You know, rocky terrain, grassy knolls and whatnot, but not trees. You weren't bushwhacking or anything like that.
So you can see for a good distance. You're not closed in by trees.
Exactly. There was always really strong sight lines the whole way through the race. So, when I was looking at my watch for navigation, I could see the general direction that it was taking me, and then I would look up and I would determine what I thought to be the best route to get to that next section of the course.
Got it.
But then all the land that it goes through is all privately owned, and anyone that owns land in South Africa has a barbed wire fence around it, because that's how you say this is my land. Yep. So you have to go up and over the barbed wire fences through the race. And there were probably 20-plus barbed wire fences that I climbed in this 100K. And you don't want to get those wrong. You want to take the extra few seconds while ascending and descending the barbed wire to ensure you're not making a mistake, you're not slipping while doing so.
You need to keep your bits.
That's right. You don't want to be running pantless by the second half of the race.
unless you do, and that's a whole other race. That's like a tough one.
So there was a really a big pack of runners that went out off the start, and I would say a couple hours into the race, we were all collectively together. And at that point, going through checkpoint 2, learned that there was actually a South African runner, Ian Donwatchup, who had kind of bolted in the darkness, and I didn't see him get away, and a lot of other guys didn't either. So there was one guy completely off the front at that point. By the time we even knew there was someone, by the time I knew there was anybody in front of me, I was told he was already 15 minutes up. So at that point, you kind of go, okay, he's either going for it and going to blow up, or he's just going for it and he's going to have that kind of day. But at that point, it was okay. There's someone in front of us, and you kind of had to go about what you were doing without it altering it too much. So in line with assessing the trail as you're going through, I was in this pack of runners, and I looked at the line on my watch and determined that I thought a lower route into the col that we were heading to would make more sense. And because you're focusing on every single step that you're taking, I couldn't actually look up. I couldn't actually pay attention to how many guys. I knew I was passing people in my peripheral, but couldn't tell how many. And by the time I got to the col, I was ahead of this group of runners. And that put me in second place. And it was a very brief period of time that allowed me to get up into there. And I wasn't intending to be up in second place that early in the race. It was just the way that it was unfolding. So shortly thereafter was one of the more technical sections of the route. Full kind of hands-on rock, scrambling over some sections, over a barbed wire fence, and then down into what they call the Dragon's Back. And the Dragon's Back is one of the most beautiful sections of trail that I've ever run. It's a narrow spine of rock, drops away about 5-8 meters on either side, and then there's 2 lumps up in front that you're running towards, so hence the name. And I just felt I was in a really good spot. I was moving really efficiently, and by the time I got through that and turned around, I could see that I had at least a 5-minute gap over most of the guys behind me. So
I mean, unbelievable, because this, I mean, for those who are watching who may not be familiar with this terrain, it's some of the most brutal terrain on the planet. I mean, Ryan Sands talks about it being just some of the most difficult that he runs on a regular basis in South Africa. So I can't imagine, Gary, not only traversing this on half track is what you're talking about, but also without a trail at all. So you're essentially adventure running through the South African plains and mountains and cliffs and all that kind of stuff.
And and that's what made it such an exceptional experience. It was just you were out in the bush. You weren't seeing anybody between checkpoints, and at checkpoints, you were seeing 1 or 2 people that were checking you in and out. Now, I guess I also should have mentioned there's no aid stations, so you're carrying all your own food. So you get 1 drop at 60K, about 60K. Which is actually thought to be about the halfway point time-wise, because the back 40 is that hard compared to the first 60. At 60K, you have an aid station where they do a full medical check, and you can access your drop bags. But for the first 60K, you have to carry every single calorie you're going to consume for that 60K. And the only water that you're going to get is out of the few streams that you're going to cross along the way.
Oh, my God.
Checkpoint 2 along the way had some water, but outside of that, you're pulling water off the mountain where it's available. So you need to do research in advance as to where that is and try and time that out. But you're carrying 2 to 3.5 hours of water at a time, and you're carrying your calories for 60 kilometers, only to then load your final 40 kilometers, which again is about the same time frame to the finish line. So it's not just no flagging, it's no support. The only people you see in the race are other runners or the checkpoint staff, and when you're going between checkpoints, you see nobody. So a very wild experience. And the weather can change on a dime, as we were told. Yep. Now, last year they actually had to cancel the race at the 60K mark because the conditions were so horrendous. I mean, if anybody watched the video, they were pulling people off the mountain in hypothermic, near-death experiences, and were actually very thankful they didn't lose anybody. Wow. This year, the complete opposite. It was 32 degrees on race day. So the 32-degree weather was taking its toll on people as we were progressing into the 60-kilometer, just over halfway distance, about halfway time point. I came into there in second place and got to see my wife Linda, who was also there in South Africa with me. Race director had become a good friend, so he was there cheering me on. Did the medical check, grabbed the rest of my supplies, and then proceed. Oh, is that a drink? That's drink. I think that's drink.
Is that stoking?
Yeah, it's stoking.
That is official.
That is.
They're actually roasting a marshmallow. You can't see the marshmallow on the end.
Oh,
That
okay.
counts. That
That
counts as like
counts.
I'm thinking
Counts.
that might be a double. Mhm. And two. Hmm.
So all the way through to 60K, found myself in second place. Was feeling pretty good. The 32-degree temperature was taking its toll, but I knew it was taking its toll on everybody. And shortly thereafter is a section called the wall, and the wall is 600 vertical meters in a kilometer and a half, I think it is. I could be botching those stats. Maybe it's 700 meters, 750 and 2K. That's what it is. 700, 750 and 2K. So you depart the aid station, and again, this section had zero trails. It didn't have half track. It just had low scrub bushwhacking. So you're going straight up into a pass. It's treacherous terrain as you're going up and over. And I get to the top, and I think, okay, I'm going to run down the other side. It's time to start running. And the other side was just, you would scurry down on your butt. I mean, I'm a pretty respectable technical runner. I can run most technical terrain, and I got to the other side and was like, holy crap, I just need to get down this thing without hurting myself right now. So got down and off that, and then was fully in the mindset that I had to get, so I knew that after the 65K mark there was a river that we ran alongside, and because it was so hot I just wanted to get to the river and cool off. So I'm running towards the river to get in. It's 32 degrees. I want to get some water on my body. I'm really feeling the heat. And all of a sudden I hear a thunder crack. And I look off to my left, and just coming off the mountains out of nowhere is nothing but gray skies. And the thunder is like 2, 3, 4 count away. And the temperature goes from 32 degrees down to 18 degrees in a matter of what felt like 10 minutes.
Oh.
So I'm running towards overheating towards water, and then realize if I get in the water, I'm probably going to be facing hypothermia issues within the hour. So obviously I don't get in the water, and I'm heading back into the final pass in the race, which is another huge climb off the backside. So I knew that there were guys 5 minutes behind me throughout this entire section, and now we're going back into the final climb of the race. There's one checkpoint that you hit. Ryan Sands is actually out on course cheering people on.
Awesome.
And yeah, it's super cool. And then I'm heading up in this pass, looking at my watch, trying to determine how I'm going through this pass. There's no trail, and it looks like the only thing that makes sense is to continue straight, contour along, and eventually it'll start to make sense. And my watch keeps telling me we're going to do a 90-degree hook turn onto what is a sheer vertical cliff above me, and I keep thinking, I must be losing signal. Something has to be wrong. This doesn't make any sense. And I get a little bit closer and a little bit closer before I realize I'm doing a 90-degree hook turn onto this vertical cliff wall that is above what I just came up. So you do the turn, you get up on this, and then all of a sudden this half to single track appeared out of nowhere, and it ended up being really nice ridgeline running off up to 9,000 feet elevation, 2,700 meters. So it went up to 9,000 feet twice throughout the race, so you've also got a little bit of elevation thrown in for a good measure. As I'm going through here, I'm getting 1 count lightning, and really, having paced Adam Campbell at Hard Rock this year, I have a greater appreciation for the fact that it's legit when you have 1 count lightning. It cooled off, the wind picked up, it started hailing, so we got a mixed bag of absolutely everything while we were out there.
That's insane.
Yeah, but thankfully, by this point in the race, I could turn around and get really good 15-minute sight lines. And I knew that I was moving well on the climbs, and I recognized that I was putting time on guys at this point. So I made it into the last aid station, which is a check-in point where they do a mandatory gear check. You have to pull out. So there's a mandatory kit as well, full and for obvious reasons. But they had sheets where you would have to put your mandatory kit down like a Tetris game. So I got there, and it's just the label of what you're supposed to put down, but I was 11 and a half hours into the race at this point in time, I think. So I basically looked at the volunteer staff and I said, I just need some help. I can't actually process where this jacket is supposed to go right now. So if someone could just take this and put it in the right spot, we could get through this all together safely and a little bit quicker. They had some hot drinks there, so I grabbed a cup of hot soup, turned around, and then managed to close it out in really respectable manner. So as I'm doing that, I should not fail to mention there's one last big rock face that you're running towards, and I'm thinking there's no way we're going to have to climb up this thing before the finish. We must contour, we must go around. And as I'm having these thoughts, I'm thinking, of course, that's not going to be the case. It is the Skyrun. They're going to bring us up and over this rock. So I got to the top. and you can there's like a sight line almost basically down to the finish line from there. And there's a couple of volunteers up top just cheering you on. And as I go to get off the top of this rock, it's a sheer vertical drop in which I was using hands and feet to down climb. And I'm down climbing, and I'm kind of loving it. I'm kind of thinking, this is pretty cool, actually. And then you go down into a gully, and the gully going down off of that was even worse than the one coming down off of the wall. Oh. And at this point, I know I'm going to finish second. I know I've had a great race. I'm super stoked on everything. But all I can think is, I'm finishing just before dark. Everybody else is going to come in by headlamp, and there's a 30-hour cutoff, and the weather is starting to shift. So people are going to be coming down this with headlamps, in the rain, in the middle of the night. So I was having that thought going, I feel sorry for these people right now. Down off the top, I was blazing. Things felt great. I was on top of the world. I finished in second place, 13 hours and 46 minutes. Second place on the day and the third fastest time for the history of the race. So obviously I was over the moon with that.
Yeah, a little bit, Gary. That deserves one of these. It also deserves one of these.
Cheers.
Unbelievable. I want to just chime in because there's been some talk in the chat room here, Gary, about your storytelling. Raul and Casey Lichtig, shout out to Casey because she's also in the chat room.
Hey, Casey, yeah.
Newly signed to Team Nike, which is incredible.
Congrats, Casey.
Yeah, she says, or Raul says Gary is badass at storytelling, and Casey says, yes, great details. Mitch Muhlenfeld says, you lost me at no course markings. No way for me. I get lost with course markings. And that's actually been a fairly common issue with the people is getting lost during ultramarathons with course markings, so I can't even imagine doing one without course marking.
So here's the thing to respond to that, because I think this is quite hilarious. I frequently get lost in races with marking. It's why I flag my courses I direct the way that I do, because there's nothing worse than getting lost. Mm-hmm. I got far less lost in this race than I ever have in a flagged race, and it's because every 1 to 5 minutes, my eye is just on my watch. It's on my watch. What was that behind you? He just walked through with like a dead animal, I think. So I got far less lost in this race than I have in any flagged race, because you had to stay alert at all times to make sure you weren't getting lost.
That's insane. What was the mandatory gear? We had that question in the chat room as well. What list? Because I know for UTMB it's these items. UTMF is another series of items. What was it for this one?
The 2 headlamps, waterproof breathable jacket, waterproof. Some kind of long pants. So I chose waterproof pants because it was actually, if I was going to wear anything, it was going to be that. You had, got to keep drinking with the hand. This guy stokes the fire a lot, hey? I will stop commenting. We're just going to drink on cue, and I'll stop interrupting. You missed it. You have to drink anyways.
I know, because I'm watching you, because I'm engaged with your storytelling. I'm also watching the chat room, and I'm missing all the good fire stoke.
You'll see me drink anytime he stokes the fire.
I drink when Gary drinks.
Waterproof breathable gear, 2 headlamps. You had to have the ability to carry at least 3 liters of water. They had GPS tracking devices, live GPS tracking devices that we had to carry.
Yes.
And those were as much for live social media stuff as they were for safety and security, for knowing where your runners are. You had to carry a map of the course. You had... Why was my pack so full? There was much more gear than this. Anything you have to carry... Ropes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. 6 mil, 25-meter climbing rope. No. Your standard mandatory kit that you would carry for UTMB, UTMF, any of these long-distance 100-mile races through the mountains, space blanket, whistle, the gear that you would need to carry in these conditions, you had to carry, and it was justified. The people that came in the 25 to 30-hour range had every piece of kit they were made to carry and wished they had more. We were laying in our bed. We were a kilometer from the finish. In the middle of the night, we were woke up by the ferocity of the wind. I could not believe how bad the conditions got. I actually thought for a moment overnight that they were canceling the race, only to have the race director, Michael DeHost, laugh at me the following day and say that was nothing compared to what we had last year. So they had finishers right up to 30 hours, and those people deserve all the respect in the world, because I faced personal demons along the way in terms of getting the most out of myself. The weather for me, for the most part, worked great. Those people really had to face all elements to get to the finish line, and the 30-hour cutoff is well warranted for that race.
Yeah, it sounds insane. And you coming in at in second place in the amount of time that you did, but then people still coming in behind you for hours through the night and down climbing and all that stuff. I can't even fathom it. Now, if you haven't already figured it out, Gary's insane. Gary is one of those guys that can do technical trails, adventure, jungle. You did a jungle run earlier this year.
I did. Only I didn't know I was going to do a jungle run.
Oh, really?
I showed up expecting an ultra marathon and then found out I was doing a jungle run while I was there. That's a whole other story. But yeah, I was doing well in that race, but I did get lost for 20 kilometers, and that was the end of my day there. That's the end of that story.
Yeah, I mean, I was following you online for that one because I know that you got your start in adventure racing. You can handle all sorts of technical terrain, whether it is climbing or any sort of class rock scrambles. You also put on some of the most technical races that I've been a part of, and this new season, you had the race in 2014, the Sky Pilot, which was going to feature a bunch of Via Ferrata style, alpine high exposure, and that's going to be even more insane this next year. I mean, I want to talk to you more about that in a second. Before we get to any of that, I want to remind those of you who are watching live, if you have questions for Gary, ask him in the chat room. I will ask them as soon as possible, because obviously there's a lot of questions going on, and we have a lot of giveaways still yet to do.
We should give something away, Ethan.
That's exactly what I wanted to do.
I think it's time to give something away.
So Gary has 3 items that he's going to be giving away tonight. He will be giving away...
One of them is me.
Yes. One of them is Gary. The other item is Gary's beard. And the third item...
Mailed anywhere in the world.
Mailed anywhere. And the rest is the rest of his body hair. I don't know if you want that.
No,
but,
it's used. It's very used.
Lightly used. So Gary does have a couple of items that he's going to be giving away tonight. We're going to save I think the big one we'll save for a little bit later, Gary. The Squamish 50 race entry, I think, is totally worth it. So I think we're going to hold off on that one. But Gary did bring along 2 amazing items from Solomon. First of all, let's see, we have these shorts. These are really cool. These are the Park 2-in-1 shorts. And you actually are in possession of these.
They are sized, yes. So they're a size small. There's a reason they're being given away because I can't fit into them. But they are great shorts. I have the medium, and they fit, and they are wonderful. So yes, so they are brand new, tags still on, and wonderful shorts. There's a liner in there. Keep everything snug in place. And there's the pockets across the back, and yeah, there's the Solomon logo right there. So
excellent.
These are to be given away. Is this where I say how to win these?
Yeah, I'll just kind of set it up, and I'll let you ask the question. So as Gary mentioned, these are Solomon shorts. They're brand new, size small men's. So anyone can enter this contest. It's super easy. Gary's going to ask a trivia question. The first correct answer in the chat room during this live stream will win. That's pretty much it. And whoever Gary has it pulled up, I have it pulled up. Whoever we see as the first winner, Gary and I will confer and agree on that. Drop me an email, and we'll just make sure to get your shipping info, and we'll get that out to you probably after the holidays, because the holidays are busy, but expect it. You will get it. So Gary, you have the question all lined up, and I'm going to pull up the answer while you kind of set it up. Go ahead.
All right. I hope I have the questions lined up. Well, yes. The question is this. My blog site, my website, GaryRobbins.ca, there's a new header image on there. Who is the photographer that supplies that image? GaryRobbins.ca.
And .ca is a Canadian website.
So it is.
I shall also drink.
All right, I'll drink with you. Polish off this.
So, get us your answers, guys. Just type it into the chat room. We're going to give you those shorts. That's as easy as it is. And while we're waiting for the correct answer, Gary has another item that he's going to be giving away, which is also very exciting, and that is going to be this right here. Pull it up. I'll pull up the picture, and I believe Gary actually has the physical object in his hand.
It's in the bag right here in front of me. It's never been opened, y'all.
It is the S-Lab Advanced Skin Belt. Oh, yeah, he put it down. Where did it go? There it is.
Want me to okay, here it is.
Don't open it. Yeah, you don't have to open it, but...
It's open. Yeah.
All right, so I actually see the answer. I think we have a correct answer in the chat room.
All right.
I'm scrolling up. I see TC Nicholas as the first person with the correct answer. That is what I see. TC Nicholas. Congratulations,
Sweet.
TC Nicholas. It is, in fact, Ian Corliss, Talk Ultra. Incredible dude, amazing photographer.
Yes,
And
very much so.
it's a beautiful photo, Gary. It is a very, very nice photo.
Thank you. I had to run 78 kilometers to get that photo to come out so well.
That's all? That's it?
Yeah, I think that was 22K from the finish. I could actually, it's probably closer to either way. Yeah, Ian did it. I had just come over a barbed wire fence at that point. Actually, that's why I'm so happy, because I had made it over the barbed wire fence again without impaling myself.
I love it. So congratulations, TC Nicholas. Drop me an email. We'll get you those shorts. Hopefully you fit into a male small. If not, you can do whatever you want with them.
If not, send us a picture of your attempt at doing it.
Yes, do that. That'd be excellent. I think we should do the next question, Gary. I'll have you go ahead and set it up. And this is for the awesome belt hydration system from Solomon. It's fantastic. Go for it, my friend.
Yes, I might be getting the order of these questions wrong. I forget right now. But on Squamish50.com, which now goes to corrects you to Squamish50.ca. Either way, both addresses are going to take you to the website. There is a female runner in the race that will scroll through that bar in the first couple of images, and she's rather well known. Who is that female runner?
Great question. All right, guys, we're going to wait for the correct answer in the chat room. The first correct answer that we see gets the Solomon Advanced S-Lab 3 belt hydration system.
They've made it easy to say, at least.
I know, at least it's not...
Catchy, right?
It's totally catchy.
Yeah.
People are freaking out because they can't type fast enough. All right, Gary, let's start. While I'm waiting for the answer, I'm going to interrupt you before we even get into it. Oh, yeah, we already have the correct answer. There we go. Eric Alvarez... He's not very specific with it, and I wish he was more specific, but I'll give it to him because it is in fact the correct answer. It is Ellie Greenwood.
It is. Too drunk to type fast. That's you got it. You spelled it all right. Zev runs.
And he did. Eric Alvarez did also type the second or the last name second, so he did get it. So it is in fact Ellie Greenwood. Eric Alvarez, congratulations, you, Gary. Just show him. What does he win?
It's a plastic bag with stuff inside and stuff will make you happy. Yes.
Yes. Yes. So good.
So good.
So good. So drop me an email and we'll make sure that gets to you. Gingermas is officially beginning. So much more to give away, including a race entry to Squamish 50. And I didn't even say this at the top of the show, but this weekend was the Gingermas Run Hunt. It was this thing I've been wanting to do for years. The first chance I actually get to do it. It was a scavenger hunt. Holiday themed. I had you go out there and take photos, document your scavenger hunt collection of the items. I basically collected all the points at the end, including the mileage that you ran. Spent hours last night with Kim tallying up all the totals because there were so many entries, and we had to go through and make sure all of them were tallied correctly. The top 3 winners of the Gingermas Run Hunt were within 0.4 points. Out of all of the entries, the top 3 were all within 0.4 points of each other. It was very close. And the prizes, which I'm going to be giving away, this is going to be the last thing we're going to give away tonight. The prizes are pretty incredible. Third place will get a kick-ass care package from Strava. So it's a bunch of Strava gear, t-shirts, socks, all that good stuff. Second place is going to be a free pair of Hoka 11 shoes. They were very nice and donated a pair of shoes, any of them that they have on their website. You get them. And the first place will win a Garmin Forerunner 620. Yeah.
Ooh.
Welcome to Gingermas.
Pretty solid prizes you got there, my friend.
Pretty solid. And I'm, as much as I would love to just keep them for myself, that's not how things work. It's Gingermas. I'm giving them back. So the winners will get those prizes, and we'll announce those winners a little bit later. I'm super excited.
Wait, are these all slightly used? Are these the ones that you put your gear reviews on?
Yes. They're going to smell like my feet.
These in your videos, Ethan.
I'm just giving away stuff that I've already used. They've had like 50 miles on the shoes. I think the watch, one of the straps is broken, but hey, you get to say that you've got it.
Exactly. Straps can be fixed.
Exactly. So Gary, I want to talk about hurt. So this is one of those races that you've done for many, many years. The Hawaiian ultra running team is incredible. The nicest people on the planet. You've had nothing but incredible things to say about them, and you've won this race a number of times, which is I only know it from legend, but also one of the most difficult hundreds on the planet. It runs through some beautiful, beautiful jungle and territory in Hawaii, but it's difficult. It's tough, and you have won it multiple times. Tell us a little bit about this year. You will not be returning to race hurt this year, but there was like kind of a nice end to the story, I guess, where things are you're okay with it. You've come to grips with it. You want to talk about that? Your
Yeah.
blog was fantastic, but I
Thank
want
you.
you to.
Yeah, so yeah, the Hurt 100 in Hawaii, January. You basically were stumbling over your words because you have no idea how many times I've run it, but that's fine, Ethan. I mean, it's tough to do research on people before you do interviews.
We're
And
friends. You're not a guinea pig for me to figure out stats for. You're my buddy. You run
hey,
it 14 times.
I watch all your videos. So, the Hurt 100 is a very special race for me. I ran it in 2010 for the first time, and it was my breakout 100-miler. Nobody knew who I was at the time, and Jeff Rose had the course record, and I went into it very trained and very much believing that I could
You
break
ran it
Jeff
three
Rose's
times.
course record.
You ran it 3 times.
You have the internet and Google.
No, I did math. I did really quick math because I knew you didn't run it 1 year, but
Yes. So right there off the bat, I mean, I had success the first time I went, and it was a breakout race for me. And then in 2011 and 2012, I could not return to do the race because I had a broken foot, Jones fracture, and was on crutches both times. So I got to go back again in 2013, and I won the race and broke my course record, and it was full circle for me because I broke my foot on the course while training there in May, and then I went back again 2014 in January this year and won for the third time. So I've had great success on that course and have gotten to know the community incredibly well. The 2 years I was injured, I volunteered for the 36 hours of the race, and that was priceless. It was what really made everything come together for the Hawaiian experience, getting to know those guys, and that's why we go back every year. It's not for the race, it's because of all the people that are there for the race. And the race directors sum it up. I mean, they don't make money on the race. It's made off of a zero budget. They just try and make the books balance, and they say they throw a party and all their friends show up from around the world. So that's the mentality of that race. That's why we go. And I was excited to race again this year. I said I'd race it any year that I physically could, and I'm physically able to race it right now. Thankfully, I'm not injured, but I just ran the Skyrun 4 weeks ago, and 13 hours, 46 minutes is pretty. I mean, there are people that have run 100-milers faster than that, so it's a fast 100-miler. It's a big effort, and from the start, I knew it would be a challenge to knock both these races off because Hurt is such a tough race, and I was holding out hope until very recently. You and I ran together last week, and I had a discussion with you at that time that basically my mojo wasn't there. I wasn't getting fired up for running. You and I ran for 2 hours. It was the longest run that I had in, I think, 8 or 9 days. And I was giving myself the time to rest from this and see if I was going to get fired up again. And I got blood work done in the interim to make sure that I didn't have any baseline issues. Make sure my white blood cells weren't high, that I wasn't fighting something. Make sure that my ferritin, my iron levels weren't low. And I got my blood work back on the 17th, and my numbers across the board were the highest they've been in years since I started competitively training and running. Typically, I get my blood work done 3, maybe 4 times a year. I have all my athletes that I coach do the same thing. It's just really good insight into if you are overtraining, if you're going to face issues in the coming months. And my blood work was great, and I then went through this whole process of going, oh, shoot, I thought I was going to have low ferritin. I thought I was going to have this issue or that issue. I thought there was going to be a reason, a scientific reason as to why I was feeling off, and that I could say this was it. And in and of that realization was the fact I knew I wasn't ready to race. When I recognized that I wasn't celebrating the fact that my blood work came back great, I was kind of wishing that there was something there to attribute it to. that was everything. That told me that it was over. So yeah, I sat down and went through everything and did a little blog posting. And basically, I'm not injured. I'm not overtrained. I'm just tired. Long year, lots of different stress this year from directing and everything else. I just had a really successful race. It was a really difficult race, and to push that straight into hurt does not set me up for success in 2015. And I would really like to have a successful year next year. So it was a hard decision, but it's the right decision. And
Oh God, they're stoking. Oh,
and and
she was literally putting her hands into those flames.
in the fire. And in the end, the last thing was this. I realized that as a coach with the athletes, I have these conversations all the time now, and I would not allow my runners to do this. And I kind of went, well, you really you can't be setting an example of what not to do to these people. So it all made sense. It doesn't make sense for me to do the race. And one of the hardest things was this.
I have to commend you, man. I don't mean to interrupt you. I know that you have more thoughts. It's just I have to commend you on that decision. We talked the other night about it, but it's one of those decisions that someone in your position, someone at your level, it couldn't have been easy. It's tough, and a lot of ultra runners maybe don't make that decision when they should, to take their body into account and actually do what's best for it rather than what's best for an image or a reputation.
Or free travel, or like this is what's getting a lot of people these years. And I'm not getting flown to Hawaii to clarify here, but but I did get to go to South Africa. I did get to go to Guadeloupe. I have gotten to travel a bit this year, and when you have the opportunity to travel to do races, it becomes that much harder to say no. And we have seen across our scene right now, that lots of people are taking advantage of as much travel and racing as they can get, and they're not stringing together 2 solid years of racing. They're having a year, maybe 18 months, and then they're facing 6 to 12 months of recovering from what they put their body through. I put this next to me because I wanted to show it, because this was actually the hardest part for me. So you can see, you have no idea what this is right now, but it has a number 1. It has my finish time and name engraved across the top. It's a lamp. Wow. They've got the runners, the pig, because there's actual pig gates on the course. It's got copper across it. It's got the Hurt insignia on the back. They custom make through artists prizing at the Hurt 100 every year, and they outdo themselves time and time again. And this was from last year, and it's one of my most favorite pieces that I own. And the hardest part about this was looking at that and actually going, I have to, before I make this decision, be okay realizing that other people are going to get these prizes, and I'm going to be sitting there at the banquet enjoying myself and not receiving one of these prizes. It's a very special race. They do incredible things with it. Anybody listening should give it serious consideration. You would never regret going to Hawaii in January and doing this event.
Yeah, it's on my list. It's been on my list when I feel like I have balls of steel. They're still in that hardwood kind of stone phase, or like soft soapstone. But once they become steel, it's definitely one of those.
I know. I heard those clacking together while we were running. I was going to ask you what that noise was.
It's a clack, clack, clack.
Yeah, it was clack. It wasn't a clang. It wasn't quite a clang. So when I hear the clanging, I'll say you should think about doing this race.
By God, Gary's right. It's time to do it. My balls are steel.
I can hear them from here.
Casey says, Gary, having you come out and tell everyone that even one of the best runners are also human. We all get tired at times. It is an inspiration to others who are in the same boat. Role model. Thank you, Casey. I couldn't agree more. And it's one of the reasons I wanted Gary on the show without internet problems, was because when you talk to this guy, when you meet him, he cares more about the sport than he does his own image or his own resume. And I think that says a lot about it. And I saw stoke. The fire was being stoked.
Thank you, Casey, for that comment. That's wonderful. Congratulations on your year, Casey. You're an incredibly talented athlete, and I hope that I get to see you at some point this year, maybe at the Squamish 50 in August. Call me.
You know what? Let's do that dovetail. I think this is a really great opportunity to do it. So for those of you who are not familiar with my season this last year, my big A race was a race I never thought I could do. It was a race that Gary convinced me would be fun, but at the same point, tough.
I said afterwards.
Yeah. The Squamish 50-50. So it was a 50-mile run on a Saturday and a 50K the next day. And these are two races that are run in Squamish, British Columbia, the terrain is not the easiest. It's not single track, buffed out, fun Southern California trails. It's technical. Most of them are mountain bike runs, so it's very steep, very technical downs, and some really nasty climbing. So this was my A race of the year, the Squamish 50-50. Couldn't have had a better time. The entire race was incredible. The volunteers, the aid stations, you put so many amazing volunteers together that just do an incredible job and really take care of every runner. It doesn't matter where they are, front of the pack or back of the pack. And then you also have that really great finish line party atmosphere. People were just hanging out at the finish line all day. That's one of those
rare beer gardens. Where else would you want to be?
Where else would you want to go? You're also feet from one of the best breweries in British Columbia.
Exactly. Microbrew down the street. And quickly to jump in, we have some of the best volunteers in the world. We had almost 200 volunteers for the weekend, so my hat always goes off to those guys because I couldn't do it without them, and they're all incredible.
And talking about this race, Gary's the race director, and tonight we'll be giving away a race entrance to the Squamish 50 for 2015. I would recommend, if any of you have the ability to do this race, do it. If you don't feel like you're ready for it, train. If you need to do the 50K before you do the 50 mile, whatever it takes. Do the 23K before the 50K, before the 50 mile, whatever. The terrain is gorgeous. It's tough. It's going to push you to your limit, and it's going to make you a stronger person on the finish line. So, Gary, I want you to give away one of your coveted race entrances to the Squamish 50. Are you cool with that?
I'm cool with that.
The dramatic build-up.
We can make that happen here tonight. We can make that happen.
So I think we should do another trivia question. What do you think?
Sounds good to me. I've already said this a couple of times tonight, so if you were paying attention, that should be right on the tip of your tongue. So if you get your fingers on the numbers of the keyboard, the question is, what was my finish time at the Solomon Skyrun in South Africa?
That is the easiest question because the answer has been stated so many times tonight. The first correct answer in the chat room will win. That's pretty much it, and that is amazing. If I could compete, I would, because it's totally worth it. I haven't worked out my end of the year race schedule for my plan just because it's so far ahead, but no matter what, I will be at Squamish for the 50 mile, 50K, 23K. Whether I'm running it or not, I'll be at a volunteer aid station. I'll do whatever, Gary. I just want to be there.
We're looking forward to having you, but I think you're also contemplating doing the Cascade Crest 100 miler, maybe putting in for their lottery, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct.
Cascade Crest is a beautiful race. 100 miler, it happens the week after Squamish, and I ran it this past summer and have nothing but great things to say about that race as well.
We have a winner, and it's Matt and Carrie Stebbins with
Woo! Matt and Carrie Stebbins are actually the head people for Rain Shadow Running with James Verner. So James hired Matt and Carrie, I think, a couple of years ago now, and they have just brought a whole other level of awesomeness to his events. So hey, Matt and Carrie, nice work. And they should know I probably would have helped them with the race entry anyways because they're so great with the Rain Shadow Running stuff. But we would love to see them up here, so that's fun.
Yeah, they're incredible. They help with the Rain Shadow Running. They do a lot of the behind the scenes as well as on location. So
James could not do it without them. Trust me.
Oh yeah. So yay, Matt and Carrie Stebbins, congratulations. You get a race entry. That's pretty awesome. But that's also not the last giveaway. I can't. What? I want to throw something else out there. Because Matt and Carrie, you actually know Matt and Carrie pretty well with 1346. I'm going to go for the second correct answer. I'm going to scroll down and see if I can find the person who got it, which was, well, Eric already won earlier, so I'm going to keep scrolling
Come on,
down.
Eric. Come on.
Ashish Mehta. Ashish Mehta, you have 46. Congratulations. I am going to give you a Ginger Runner T-shirt. So you get your choice. Oh, they're stoking the crap out of this fire. You can't see it, but they're taking one of those.
Oh, they're attacking it from both sides?
Mm-hmm.
Never seen such craziness
Totally
before.
worth it. Ashish Mehta, email me, so thegingerrunner@gmail.com. Let me know, hey, I'm the guy that won the second 1346 of Gary's time. I will give you a free Ginger Runner T-shirt, the Train Race Beer T-shirt. And on that same note, let's kind of transition into the Gingermas Run Hunt. We'll do this giveaway, and then we'll keep Gary around to answer more questions. If you guys had a ton of questions for Gary, I want to make sure that we can ask him. Because this show is all about giving stuff away, making people happy, putting smiles on people's faces, I think it's time to do the Gingermas Run Hunt giveaway. Before we even start going into top 3, I want to give another shout out to someone else. His name is Chris Owens, and Chris Owens went above and beyond this weekend. So a big part of the scavenger hunt was not only taking pictures of holiday-themed things, menorah, nutcracker, Christmas trees, but it was also to spell via GPS by running the letters GR. So many people did it, and if you go to Instagram.com/EatTheNewberry, you'll see I posted it today. I posted a picture of, like, I don't know, I think it's 20 people who spelled GR around the globe. There's Amsterdam, there's Paris, there's, I mean, everywhere. Estonia. Some people did it in mountains, in the middle of mountains. I just don't know how. Other people use street blocks to do it. But one guy went above and beyond, and his name is Chris Owens, and he did this. He spelled, well, kind of. He might have been drunk while he was doing it.
That makes it even more impressive if he was drunk.
I know. Train race. I know he's trying to spell beer, but it looks like
loin? That looks like loin race beer.
Loin race bear is actually what I see.
That's what I see. Yeah. Nice work. You should make buffs with that on there.
Loin race bear. Actually, Chris, I want to do something special for you. I want to make you a custom. I'm gonna change it now to loin race bear. You're going to be the only person on the planet to have a loin race bear T-shirt. So if you're watching this, I believe I have your email anyways. I'll just email you and get your contact info and race info. I think that's amazing that you went out there and actually attempted to cursive spell out train race beer, which is the slogan of the show. So kudos to you, my friend. You were the only person to do it, and I bow my hat. I bow my loin race bear hat to you, my friend. I wish it was that. I might have to add that to the store so that we can get it. Otherwise, you will have the only one on the planet, which I'm really excited for. Okay. I think it's time that we finally do this. So, for those of you who don't know, the Gingermas Run Hunt was a series of scavenger hunt items. There were a total of 18 points that you could collect with photographs. If you spelled the GR, it was an additional 6 points, and they're rewarded a point for every mile that you ran. We had people running all sorts of distances, whether they were running or walking or hiking. It was really, really incredible. I had well over 100 entries to this scavenger hunt from this weekend, and I was just really happy that people got outside. Like, to see that many people get outside and then have fun. People were talking in the chat room about how much fun they had doing it. This is 100% an annual tradition now. Gingermas will go on for years because I had fun making it, and I had fun getting photos and getting people's Strava activities and stuff. So it was really, really cool. So the total points you could accumulate with photos and the GR was 24 points plus whatever mileage you had on top of that. Coming in third place. So this is the third most points accumulated. The winner will get a Strava Care package. This has a whole bunch of really cool Strava gear, T-shirts and socks and maybe a water bottle. I'm not sure. It's going to have a bunch of stuff from Strava. The winner with 44.6 points. So think about that. They accumulated 24 points plus another 20.6 miles or whatever. Sandra Hardy. Sandra Hardy, congratulations.
Nicely done, nicely done.
44.6 points gets you the Strava Care package. Blown away. In second place, this is for a free pair of Hoka 1-1 shoes.
What?
That's pretty awesome. I've been wearing them a ton. I wore them at the North Face 50 Miler. I wore a pair.
The exact pair is what he's not putting in there.
Yeah. They're nasty. I'm sorry, they're muddy. I haven't washed them, but they're going to be delicious. Hopefully they'll arrive in time for Christmas. Hoka 1-1 pair of shoes with 44.8 points.
No way.
Literally 0.2 points from third place, which is incredible. It's like, oh, all you had to do is run 0.2 more miles to accumulate that point.
Just put some salt on that.
Yeah. You get a free pair of Hoka 1-1 shoes, Mr. Philip Zanello, or Zanello Philip, whether I'm pronouncing it right or wrong. Congratulations to you.
Woo!
So he got all the photos except for a menorah. He also did not do a live Santa. He ran 25.8 miles to get all these points.
Nicely done.
Nicely done. And maybe just do a drum roll of some sort of Christmas drum roll. This is it. For the Garmin Forerunner 620, this is the touchscreen super watch from the future for runners. It's pretty awesome GPS watch. With 45 points, which is 0.2 more than second place, Sean Catt. Congratulations, Sean Catt. You not only got all the pictures, you spelled GR, and you went for a 21-mile run, which is incredible. Congratulations, Sean Catt. I mean, I was blown away by the field and how many points people were accumulating, and the pictures and the videos that I was sent were just, they were amazing.
Those are some really solid efforts from people, and the fact that it was that close is crazy.
I was thinking it was going to be, in my mind I'm going, well, a lot of people are going to take all the photos. The GR, I'm sure a lot of people will do it. I'm going to add the mileage thing. So I'll give a point for every mile. So if it's 20 miles or 20.2, you know, you get that many points. I knew it was going to be the deciding factor, but I did not think it was going to be this close. Blew my mind.
Incredible.
0.2 separated first, second, and third. So congratulations to everyone who entered. Next year, we're going to go bigger. We're going to go better. And hopefully you guys will have enough time to train. You have a year. So I feel like next year's people are just going to run 50 miles and be like, take a photo along the way or something and hope that they win.
I'll tell you a story, Ethan. Can I tell you a quick story?
Of course, absolutely.
Tell you a quick story.
Yeah.
I was in graduating year of high school, so grade 12, and they had a prize package that consisted of $220 worth of grad photos and a portable CD player. Okay, so this is 92 or 93. I don't know the exact year right now. Portable CD player.
This, bro.
That's all I wanted was the CD player. Didn't care about the photo package whatsoever. And to enter in the contest, we had to sell vegetable baskets, 10 pounds of vegetables. So I was like, that's it. I gotta win the CD player. Like, I don't care about the pictures, but I gotta get the CD player. So I go scour the neighborhood. I used to be a paper boy, so I had really good relationships with all the neighbors, and I did all right for myself. And then they make the announcement on the PA system. We don't know what's going to happen. So they say in third place there was, a tier of prizes. In third place, with 8 potato sacks that were sold, such and such. And in second place, with 9 potato sacks sold, such and such. And the winner of the package with 22 potato sacks sold. So I have really good grad photos that I didn't pay for.
That's incredible. 22?
Yep, that's right. I would not leave unless they bought. You need some yams, Mr. Sir.
Did you have the beard as well?
I did not. I was dreaming of maybe growing a beard one day at that point.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. So again, Merry Gingermas to all. We're gonna stick around for a little bit and answer more questions. I know that there's a lot of questions for Gary about his sky race, about Hurt, about races coming up this year that he wants to do. People are already asking about his calendar. So stick around. There might even be some more giveaways in the post show that I just forgot about. I don't know. We're gonna be throwing shit at your faces, and that was a terrible way to end the show. It's not how I wanted to end it. This winter miracle is doing wonders. So Gary, where can people find you, social media-wise, website-wise? Let them have it.
GaryRobbins.ca. It goes to the blogspot address or whatever, but it's GaryRobbins.ca. Eventually, at some point, I'm gonna actually have a proper, nice website, but not anytime soon. And Squamish50.com for my Squamish races. And I have a race series called the Coast Mountain Trail Series, and that is coastmountaintrailseries.com as well.
Yes, yes. And that's where the Sky Pilot race will be, correct?
It's correct, yes, the Sky Pilot race, which we should talk about.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in the post show because I want to talk more about that one specifically. Again, thank you all so much for making the last 4 days amazing. I, on a whim, was like, you know what? This is the year I want to do Gingermas. And it worked beyond my expectations. Did giveaways across social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, YouTube, Strava. Tied it all together, managed to do it. You guys all followed along from home, from across the globe, which that's kind of the cool thing to me, is knowing that there are people in countries all around this planet celebrating the common hobby of running. And I think
Are you reading a script right now? Because this is too perfect to be coming off the top of your head.
A celebration of all the good things winter brings, from complex beers to warm fireplaces, close family and good friends, hops, malts, and a high IBU. Winter Miracle. That's basically where that talking is coming from. Stick around, guys. We're going to have some fun in the post show. Don't forget that I'm doing live shows every single Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. However, I didn't say this, and I don't mean to bring it to the last minute. This will be the last show of the year. I will not be doing a show next week because it's going to be really close to New Year's, and I will be traveling.
Because you're lazy.
Because I'm lazy. 46 episodes is definitely inside lazy. So next week, and I'm undecided on whether or not I will do through January because I do need a break to to revamp the website. As much as I just created a new website, it needs to be redone because there's a whole bunch of new things coming in 2015 that it
Can I have your old website?
Sure, man, you can have it. It loves to crash. Yeah, I'll just put a big signature on it. It loves to crash when 5 people go to it. So I'm going to be redoing everything, and there's a lot of really cool, exciting things coming in 2015, so you want to make sure that you stick around for that. But I'm undecided on that. I might do a couple live shows. They're starting to fire. Mm-hmm.
What? Oh, I can't see that.
Yeah, they're coming from the other side. I don't know. They just kind of switch sides on us. So that's it. Just kind of follow the social media. So on Twitter, it's @TheGingerRunner. On Facebook, it's facebook.com/TheGingerRunner, GingerRunner.com, and of course on Instagram, it's @EthanNewberry. You guys are fantastic. Thank you for playing this weekend. I hope you had fun. I know I did. And stick around for the post show. We've got much more with Gary Robbins, including.
I have all those too, Instagram and Twitter. I have all those too, Instagram and Twitter.
I gave you your
Facebook
chance, Gary.
and stuff. I don't know. You're supposed to mention those. I'm on all those too. So yeah, come find me if you're gonna find him.
Go find him, guys. Go find Gary Robbins. Add him as a friend, even if you don't know him.
There's underscores and spaces and backwards and stuff in there, but you'll find me.
You'll find him. All right, stick around for the post show. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Okay. Yeah. Great.
Ho,
ho, ho! Wow. I feel like the whole episode I was going, I forgot to do something. I forgot to do something. I forgot to do something.
I forgot to go to the bathroom.
We had that problem with James Varner.
That was not good.
Do you need to go?
I did.
Go for it. Oh, you did?
I did.
You just went in your pants?
No one can see, and you can't smell it.
I won't ask what number because it's Gingermas, so there's no point.
It's always number 1. Always. Number 1.
Always. There were some good questions in here. So yeah, again, guys, thank you for tuning in live. I hope you had some fun tonight. There were some good questions for Gary.
That's me.
Yeah. Mitch Muhlenfeld asks, Gary and Ethan, what are your race schedules for 2015? Even if it is maybe a race, what is on mind? What is on mind? What is on mind?
What is on mind? My mind has race.
Do you have any idea yet?
Yes. Yeah. So I, when I decided to withdraw from Hurt, one of the things that excited me about not doing Hurt, actually the only thing that excited me about it was that it could open up a few other races in February, March that otherwise I wouldn't get a chance to do because I'd be recovering and training to get ready for some other events. So I will be going to Orcas Island 50K the beginning of February. I have raced that race once before, and I'm looking forward to having another crack at it. I've volunteered for it a couple of times, and it's just a really fun party in Washington State, a rain shadow running race.
Yep.
We'll also be doing the Rain Shadow Running Gorge Waterfalls 100K at the end of March in Portland. Another fantastic race, and there's a 75% chance I'll be running the 100-kilometer race. There's a 25% chance that I'll run the 50K depending on how the recovery and training goes. But an exciting thing about that race is it's a Montreal Cup race this year, so it's a very competitive field of runners. So really excited. My wife and I, Linda, said we hadn't been to Portland in a couple of years, so we really wanted to make sure we made that happen. And a great opportunity that came up, again, travel opportunity. There's a race in Spain at the beginning of May called CSP 115. And CSP are the name of the three, it's the letters for the 3 towns that it goes through. And it's 115 kilometers long. I did run this race once before in 2011. it was smack dab in the middle of being on crutches. So I didn't have my fitness, but I had my determination, I guess. And it was 38 degrees. I ran the first 50 kilometers of the race and was in maybe 7th or something, 6th or 7th, and my body just completely imploded. And because the race directors had actually flown me over for that race at the time, I felt that I owed them a finish. And I walked 65 kilometers to the finish line that day after the implosion. I couldn't, my legs, my quads just completely seized up and whatnot. So it's nice to get another crack at this race. I know the course. I know it probably better than I should because I walked most of it.
Yep.
So that's the beginning of May. And then the other race I'm looking at right now is the Wasatch 100-miler in the beginning of September. So my wife.
That's a monster.
Yeah, there was. I don't know if you saw that cat that just appeared out of nowhere. Thanks for
that. Yeah, I saw it. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's the post show, so we can do whatever we want now, right? Why are we even wearing clothes still? So I want to give myself a little bit of time this summer. I don't want to have a summer specific race goal. I would like to spend a lot more time this summer out in the local mountains and not traveling to races. Having said that, we're going to go to hard. We'll be pacing. But Wasatch 100-miler, beginning of September. It's a race that's at altitude. I did not get in on the Hard Rock lottery this year. Hard Rock is a huge goal for me, and in the interim of not racing Hard Rock, I would like to get more experience with altitude races. So that is not only is Wasatch a super cool race that I've heard nothing but incredible things about, it also gives me a chance as someone who resides at 75 feet above sea level to work on my race day strategies for racing at altitude.
That'd be excellent.
Yeah, outside of that, I think those are the only races right now that have. Those are the races that I'm registered for. There's some other things, some other things out there that I'm pondering, but nothing else set in stone. And realistically, that's a pretty stellar calendar in terms of like number of races and mileage and everything else. It doesn't need to be more than that, and it may not be more than that.
So. My calendar for 2015, I think we're actually kind of dovetailing on a couple races too. Orcas Island 50K is definitely one of my.
What? Did you hear that? That was.
Orcas Island 50K is going to be one of my favorites. It's early season. It's February 7th. I grew up going to Orcas Island to camp with my family, and I have scars on my fingers from where I used to whittle wood next to a campfire as a child, and the knife closed on my fingers. And I had to get that taken care of. I have so many fond memories of that island. It was the first mountain I climbed with my dad. So I'll be going back there in February to race the 50K there, which is a monster. It's a rain shadow running race. I'll also be back to Gorge. I'm signed up for the 100K. We'll most likely run the 100K, maybe the 50K, depending on Quicksilver 100K, which I will be running for my Western qualifier ticket. I need to get a ticket to at least submit for Western. Quicksilver is going to be where I do that, hopefully. Which is
$25 is the state charge for your ticket.
$25.
$25.
So Quicksilver is for sure, and then the season is kind of open because Cascade Crest 100-miler, which is in Washington State, is they're stoking.
I just drank too. More drinking.
Just put those hands right in those flames. The Cascade Crest
triple stroke. Yeah.
It will be my first 100-miler, I believe, and that runs through the mountains.
You believe? Is there the possibility you've run one and forgotten?
No. There's the possibility that it's a lottery system, and it's still kind of figuring out how to get in and stuff like that, and making sure that if I run my first 100, I want it to be there because those mountains are the mountains I grew up right in front of, hiking there as a kid and stuff like that. So there's kind of this draw to it being.
I have terrible lottery juju, so what I'm doing right now is I'm crushing your head on my computer screen, crushing, and that's giving you good juju, so you'll get in. It's virtually guaranteed because I crushed your head.
My head is crushed. On Gingermas, I cannot fathom this.
Lottery.
Lottery. And then I'll be at Squamish and
Woohoo!
probably back to North Face again next year. There might be some road marathons in there to kind of keep things fresh, keep the legs working, and yeah, I'm very excited. I'm very excited to kind of take it up a notch next year.
It's good stuff. It's exciting that you're going to be lining up for your first 100-miler, wherever that ends up being.
Well, hopefully the juju works. I also really want to go do a Jamil Curry Aravaipa running race. Jamil has been putting on these races for so long, and I've only heard amazing things. I want to get out there and support some of those guys out there. I want to get to Flagstaff and do some runs there.
Those guys seem like they do some great stuff, and they both got into Hard Rock as well.
I know.
You should talk to them about some lottery luck, because this is not the guy to talk to.
Well, so people are going to be at Hard Rock that I just want to hang out with, and I know people that are also running Hard Rock. I'm pretty sure I'm going to go to just witness it, kind of take it all in, because it's a big deal.
It's phenomenal.
And, yeah, it's one of those things I've only heard legends of, and I definitely want to be a part of. Robbie says Ginger Nation is one country worldwide. That's something like that. Let's see. I'm just kind of scrolling through the post-show. Going for the third beer. Gary, I am planning to run a 50K US Sky Race. Quest for Crest 50K. Any tips for training for the elevation gain for a Flatlander? This 50K has 11,500 feet.
Yeah, and that's a great question, actually. So first and foremost, nice work on signing up for that one. One of the biggest things that you will struggle with as a Flatlander training for a mountainous 100-miler like that, or a very difficult 100-miler, or very difficult 50K, very difficult ultra race, is the descents, the loading on the quads. It's not something that you will normally get in your environment. So the ascents, they may take it out of you on your energy levels, but they won't beat your body up. But what a lot of people struggle with is the descent side of things that can really beat your body up. So the thing I say to flatland runners is the critical workout going into races like that is to find somewhere where you can get a downhill workout in and to do repeats on that downhill terrain so that you're actually stressing your quads. The eccentric loading that you're getting on your quads will go a very long ways towards race day success in a race like that.
And for those who don't know, Gary is also a coach and does some incredible coaching all across the globe. Do you have clients? I mean, I know you have U.S. clients. Do you have clients?
We actually have. So we're fortunate. We've done quite well. My coaching partner is someone named Eric Carter. Eric Carter is going to be going to the World Championships of Skimo Racing in Europe this year. He'll actually be spending a couple of months over there. Very accomplished athlete himself, and doing his PhD program on the effects of altitude on elite endurance athletes. So really good cohesion with everything we've got going on. So Eric and myself coaching together have done quite well, and we are already have a wait list of people. And on that wait list are some of our first potential international clients. Right now we are just North America based, but yeah, our coaching programs are currently listed on Squamish50.com. And we are working on our own website right now. And yeah, we always love hearing from people, so you can drop us a line there if you want.
Yeah, I've only heard of incredible results from some of your clients. Just running with a couple of them this last weekend is like, holy shit, you guys have really gotten good. Is there something with your technique or any of your style that kind of helps separate you from other coaching programs or anything like that?
I think the the point of distinction for us is that we have the scientific base with the experience that I've got from I've been running ultras for 10 years, so I've got my experience that comes in with all the science that Eric can bring to it as well. Mm-hmm. And my general philosophy with the coaching side of things is to keep people from getting injured and to keep them from being overtrained. I've got some athletes right now that their struggles are to not train too much, and on the opposite spectrum, I've got athletes that struggle to not get injured. And I think one of my greatest successes as a coach this year, and this is not to undermine anybody else's specific successes by any stretch, but one of the ones I'm more proud of, because of the independent case of this person was, she was going into her first 100-mile race, and she's a little bit injury prone. She's faced some issues, and she has a very strong, experienced community of runners around her where she's based out in Ontario, and constantly was having conversations about her being told by her peers that she wasn't training enough and wasn't training properly. And I kept saying, we need to keep you healthy, consistency is the key, realistically at that point, her body hadn't shown the ability to withstand higher mileage and still not go over the edge.
Mhm.
And in the end, we got her first 100-mile finish. She finished first overall with the second fastest time in the history of the race. She's
Wow.
obviously an incredibly talented runner, but throughout the entire process of building up to this race, the constant tone of our conversations, or the constant thing that we talked about, was that she was being told she wasn't doing enough. So I'm incredibly proud of that one. And the funny thing is, one of her peers from that region, from Ontario there, has since reached out to us after seeing that Mel, hey Mel, has had success by us making sure that we're not overtraining people and not getting people injured. And I think, I really believe ultra running right now is still, still figuring,
Firestoke.
we're still so early in the figuring out what our bodies really can and can't do effectively in ultra running. And there are a few anomalies, but by and large, most ultra runners these days who run and compete a lot of ultras don't have a long lifespan to being competitive in those. And I think 5 or 10 years from now, when we have a lot more studies done on the sport, we're going to look back on this era and really think that some of the stuff that we committed to as runners, as elite athletes, was crazy. I mean, to draw a parallel to road biking and whatnot, you see that they focus on an individual race to have success. They don't do multiple races throughout the year. And and marathon runners, they won't focus on a lot of marathons in a single year. To peak, they focus on a couple. And yet in ultra running, the overarching theme is still, if you're a competitive sponsored runner, you better be showing up at an event every 4 to 6 weeks and competing. And I think we have a long ways to go in figuring out what to keep the longevity of this sport making sense for people.
Totally agree. I want to do a giveaway. I'm going to give away one of these hats. I'm going to do a train race beer giveaway.
I want to win this one. How do I enter?
Just jump into the chat room, Gary. If you're the first person to answer correctly.
All right, guys, I'm on it. I don't know if my feed. I should have. Maybe the feed's delayed. Maybe I get like 5 seconds of opportunity here.
Yeah, the answers popping in will be delayed, so it definitely has like a 30-second lag or something like that. But I will give you a train race beer trucker hat if you can answer me this question. I got to come up with the question first. I realized that. I had to work it out in my head. So for the Gingermas Run Hunt, one individual person ran a GPS spelling out 3 words. What did we, during the show, think that those 3 words were? And what is the t-shirt that I'm going to make for this individual? First person to answer correctly with those 3 words will win.
Copy and paste what I said if you want to win.
Yeah, just copy and paste what Gary said.
The answer is grape nuts.
I saw that too. IUS Running says the answer is grape nuts. That's definitely not it. I know that someone's going to get this answer like super quickly. People are laughing. Joe Chick's in the chat room. Casey Lichtig, she obviously knows people's addiction to trucker hats. The delay is fine. Look.
There you go. It looks like Eric Alvarez.
I'll give it to Eric Alvarez, but he misspelled bear.
Well, they're coming piling in now. Wow, there's like 5 or 6 people listening to us right now.
Yeah, it's so Eric, you know what?
I'm impressed.
Eric, you won earlier. I want to spread some Gingermas love. So I'm going to go right below you to James.
I thought we had heard his name already.
Yeah, James McKetty, Loin Race Bear. I'm going to have to give it to James McKetty. Is that what you see on your end, Gary? Is the James McKetty?
It already scrolled all the way through. I would have to scroll down, and that's technology I don't understand how to use.
That's totally fine. So I'm sorry. Eric technically wins. Eric won earlier in the show. He does. But James McKetty... James McKetty, congratulations. Drop me an email, thegingerrunner@gmail.com, and we'll make sure that you get one of the train race beer trucker hats. We'll just make that happen.
That's what I see. I have confirmed through the wonders of technology that you are correct. That is the name I saw as well.
Excellent. Okay. There was a question for you, Gary. I'm going to scroll back up and find it. Have you ever done a 24-hour run?
It's funny. I have not done a 24-hour run, and the Currys actually. I've always been kind of intrigued by it. Yeah. There's different versions of 24-hour runs, obviously, but primarily they're short looping courses. A lot of times on a track. Following the Currys and their Aravapa running, I might have said that wrong. Updates, I've always had interest in it. It's, for me, something I would have to train very specifically for.
Right.
I live right at the cusp of mountains, and I spend a lot of time going up and down rather than going in circles and going flat. And so the answer is no, I haven't. The answer is yes, I'm interested, and at some point I think I'll wake up and say I want to do a 24-hour and see. But I would also give myself a good 6 to 8 months of making sure that I had a great race doing it.
Now, what about, so there was a question, training for Squamish 50. What are some of your tips for training for a race that specific?
So Squamish 50, similar to which. That's a bit of a broad question. You know, they could be talking 50K or 50 miles. I don't know what their local terrain is, so I'm just thinking through what's kind of the best blanket statement to make about this. And it would be in line with, I think, one of the things that makes Squamish so challenging.
They asked specifically 50 miler, but I'm sure that whatever you say can translate.
Yeah. One of the things that makes Squamish so unique is the technicality of our terrain. And one of the things that I actually thoroughly enjoyed as a race director this year was seeing an incredibly deep, talented field show up to Squamish, and by mile 20, the breakaway lead pack was all local runners. We had 4 local to Vancouver, Burnaby, Squamish area runners, and a close to Bellingham runner. That was our lead 5 guys that have broken away from, you know, Mike Wardian and Mike Versteeg and all these great U.S. runners that had shown up for the race. And it was because our trails are very technical. There are still stretches of running in there. It's, you know, the winning time is on about 7.5 hours, but technical running is not something that people are normally exposed to, and there are proprioceptive abilities that need to be developed over a period of time to allow you to run effectively on technical terrain. And if you have the ability to access anything in the way of technical terrain while training for Squamish, I think it'll go a long ways towards making your entire day just be a little bit more smooth, maybe a little bit less mentally challenging.
Got it. See, would that translate to the 50K as well?
Absolutely. The 50K mile for mile, K for K, is actually a tougher race than the 50 miler. The 50 miler, the 50K is the hardest 50K portion of the 50 miler, basically.
Yeah, really the only section in the 50 miler that is still very tough is that short climb before you hit the second aid station. I don't know what that's called, but it's nasty.
Debex Hill, yeah.
Debex Hill,
yeah. Going up that, you will actually use your hands on some of the features going up, so it's definitely quite steep and rocky.
Yep. Now, what about some of the coastal mountain runs, the Coast Mountain Trail Series?
Coast Mountain Trail Series. So it is the series of races that we direct. My co-race director Jeff Langford and I. 6 events throughout Squamish, North Vancouver, and Port Moody. We have our first race called the Cap Crusher in March. It's a celebration of spring on the first weekend of spring, 8K and 13K, so shorter distances, but what we do keep is the difficulty and technicality that you would see and expect in an ultra-distance race. And because of that, we actually see a good portion of our local ultra runners that come out and enjoy our races. They are not... They're not kind of segue races for road runners coming onto trails. They're very much the next step for people who have some experience while running on trails. So we have races, the Cap Crusher, 8K and 13K in March. I'm out of wine, and my wife refused to fill up my wine glass. So no. I've been cut off, apparently. May 30th, Survival of the Fittest, which is 13K and 18K. July 25th, we have a race called Buck and Hell, and that now has 15K and 50 kilometers. We're debuting an ultra at that event this year. On the weekend of the Squamish 50, we have a 23K race, the Squamish 23. And in September, on September 20th, we have the Sky Pilot race, which is 14 kilometers and 20 kilometers. And very technical, complete mountain running. You have to sign off on 10 questions. You have to carry mandatory kit. This year we'll most likely have a Via Ferrata section in that race. And then our final race of the year is the Run Ridge Run, which is in Port Moody on October 10th, and that is 13K and 25K.
Got it.
I got them all right.
Sky Pilot is one of those races. Are you going more Via Ferrata this year?
So Sky Pilot this year in the debut year was supposed to have a Via Ferrata route installed. We
Right.
purchased all the materials. We got them here from Italy. We were just up against the clock a little bit, and the weather was changing on us, and we lost our window to safely pull off the grand vision that we had in place. So we decided on an alternate route that thankfully we still had a beautiful day in the mountains that day, and people were over the moon with what we presented that day. So it was, and we sold out that race. We had 225 runners, which was our cap for that race. So it was our first sold out race in the Coast Mountain Trail Series. Specifically, not to count the Squamish 23K since it's piggybacking on the Squamish 50. And so the Via Ferrata materials are here. We have them, and it is just a matter of getting some of our Alpine guides to install those. I'd say it's 90% certain, 10% anything could happen. So we will more than likely, 90% certain, have a Via Ferrata route that we will be tapping into for the long distance run of that course only. And it's also a Skyrun in Canada race, and it's also truly one of the most scenic races in Canada, period. Especially mile for mile, kilometer for kilometer. When you're talking about a 20-kilometer race, you get a gondola up to start, and then you run up onto an alpine ridge. And funnily enough, we actually made a good portion of the route, the trails. We were constructing the trails on the Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday before the Sunday race. So we were definitely up against the clock in what we pulled off, which just made it all that much more rewarding when we succeeded.
People were saying that that race last year was one of the most spectacular, one of the most terrifying, but also one of the most rewarding. Are you anticipating taking that to the next level this next season?
Beyond. Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to have some conversations in the very near future as to exactly what that's going to consist of. We're already taking registrations, and you have to answer the 10 questions, self-sufficiency, mandatory kit, experience in the mountains, just being a few of those, to be allowed to register for the long-distance race. The short-distance race will not change. It's still incredibly challenging and still ridiculously scenic. What may change for the long course is if we get the route installed, we may look to actually include harnesses and helmets and have people get signed off and do orientation runs where you would have to have that as well. Realistically, yeah, and we want to present, the thing as a race director, you want to create races that you would love to do. And there's this race in Spain called Trofeo Quima, Trofeo Quima. It happens every second year. It happened last year, 2014, so it won't happen again until 2016. Short distance race through the mountains, and just insane. Like, if you look at the pictures, if you haven't seen it, please Google it and check it out. Killian won this year, as he did last time. That's the race that I want to do, something like that. You see the chains, you see the ropes, you see the rock faces. It's incredible. And as long as we ourselves can present a course that we can get insured for, and that we can also ensure that we are keeping our runners safe and not presenting unnecessary risk. And in line with that is having harnesses, helmets, getting signed off on that if that's necessary. As long as we can do that, then we want to do that. That's absolutely where we want to go with that.
What are your opinions on races like Barkley's? I know you as someone that can tackle pretty much some of the most technical terrain on the planet. Is that something that's in your wheelhouse, or hard rock is in your wheelhouse? Are these things that you want to do?
Yeah, Barkley is very high on my list, and I was very incredibly close. I was convinced I was going to sign up for the lottery. I was going to put in for it this year, and I got an opportunity to race in Spain basically 5 weeks after what would be Barkley, and I'm 38 years old, and eventually my wife and I want to start a family here, and I recognize that these international travels are not going to be something that A, may be available to me, and B, or maybe something that is going to make sense for me and my family. So I need to take advantage of opportunities when they present themselves, and this race in Spain is a unique opportunity that did pop up somewhat unexpectedly and forced me to revisit my calendar. So Barkley, it's definitely a race I will apply for, and I would be surprised if I didn't put in for it next 12 months from now.
Hell yes. Love it. What are your feelings on some of the instant gratification races? So they don't really specify as to what. This is from CTAM79.
They don't need to specify. So I have an interesting perspective on that because instant gratification races, that's everything from colored runs to right up to obstacle runs. There's and I course directed some obstacle races for about 18 months. And I no longer do it. And when I was offered this contract, I struggled with it myself. I looked it up. It was one of the unique races that where they actually had timing. The distances were respectable, so it made it more than an obstacle race that would be done in a matter of minutes. But what do I think about it? I think it's great because it's getting people moving. I mean, first and foremost, it's inspiring people in a way that ultra running, trail running just doesn't and probably never will. It's very easy to look at these and to put a judgment on it, and I struggle sometimes myself not to do that. But realistically, I think it is just something that speaks to a percentage of the population that our races never will, that our people are not wired for. I think we'll see very little crossover coming from those into ultra running, but what makes that very unique is that in the opposite direction, we're seeing guys like Max King go and do these short distance obstacle races because the prize purses are insane. So Max, if you didn't know, I'm sure everybody listening does. I mean, he won $30,000 for winning a 5K obstacle race. It was 3 or 4 weeks before he won the World 100K Championships. Max is just a phenomenal athlete and an even better person. But yeah, you see people going into those from our scene. I don't think you're going to see a lot of people coming into our scene from those. And I understand so, and I'll finish with this. You know, I was directing these events, and I was amazed at the the demographic and just the diversity of, and you had everything, all shapes, all sizes, all ages. But I saw a group of young ladies who looked like they had just come from a nightclub that were smoking right before doing the event, and I think that's the part that a lot of us struggle with.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, Gary, if you need to go, just obviously let me know.
I do have to go in a very near time frame. There's someone who's probably paying attention to this in Vancouver who's hosting us for dinner tonight. Yeah. So, hey Trev, if you're watching, I'm on my way to getting there soon-ish. So why don't we say 6 minutes? So it's 7:34 on my computer. So I'll put in 6 more minutes, and then we have to jet. I could do this all night, but yeah.
They can tune in and watch you live, not coming to their house, basically.
I was like, I can make this work. We'll make this work. Yeah. Ethan we'll do this 30 minutes earlier, and then Trev will be 2 hours late.
This is a question from Breeze Bestland. Attempting my first 100-miler in June. As far as long runs go, what would you aim for as longest long run? How far out from race day? I mean, this is a very typical question that I've seen asked of many people who have run 100-milers. How far out from race day, and would you look at a 2, 3, or other week taper?
Great question, and it's a great question to ask. And going into your first 100-miler, incredibly daunting. So first and foremost, congrats on signing up for a 100-miler, and it's a huge step that you've already taken just to get there. First, answering the tapering question, I truly believe that going into your first 100-miler, rest is key, and I would recommend a 3-week taper to anybody that is. The question I would preface this with most times is, what's the experience level? Are you a lifelong runner, or have you been doing this for a couple of years? The reason I'm correcting myself there is because if any of my athletes are watching, they're going to say, you made me do a 2-week taper. That was based on their experience level. So I'm correcting myself in saying, if you're heading into your first 100-miler and you're not a lifelong runner and competitor, then I think 3-week taper is definitely the way to go. 2-week taper is something that you figure out over time, or you have with more experience. The worst that can happen with a 3-week taper is you get a bit more rest. The worst that can happen with a 2-week taper is you're not rested enough. A very bad thing to happen going into your event. And the question about the mileage, you do not need to do insane individual mileage while training for these races. It's more about your cumulative mileage on a week-to-week basis, and it's more about the consistency that you're putting in on a month-to-month basis as you're going into this. So most of my long runs going into most of my 100-milers have been about 50K, and a lot of times I'll just piggyback them onto a race. I have rarely done training runs of longer than 50. There's only a handful in my life that I've done 60 or I've had a 70K day. I only did this after training for years and having a handful of hundreds under my belt. I think if you're doing more than 50K in an individual run, you go far too close to injury. And even with that, I would look at splitting that up. So I have my runners doing 40, 45, maybe 50K, and then they split it up. So you're doing a 20 to 25 in the morning and a 20 to 25 later in the day. You're taking a break, you're resting, you're fueling, and you're going out again. And what you really want to prevent in doing a 50K run is a breakdown in your biomechanics. And that is where the experience and the muscular endurance and the conditioning comes into play. If you're going out mentally saying, I need to do 50K today, and I did this was how I got into the sport, and this is now me recognizing that that's not the best way to go about it. By 35, 40K, my body couldn't really sustain what it was doing. Biomechanically, I was failing, and then everything starts going to hell, and I was towing injury because of that. So basically, you wouldn't want to go longer than 50, maybe split it up. But really, when you start to biomechanically fail and you recognize that your body is not able to run properly, that's when you need to shut it down.
That's actually really, really excellent advice. I'm going to go back and listen to that before casting credit. Rob Morley has been asking some excellent questions. I feel like he's been watching other shows and he has these.
Okay, so if I'm not mistaken, Rob Morley, yeah, it is right. Yeah, 100%. So you're gonna have Rob posted a picture on Instagram right before Halloween, and it was a picture of him with a ginger beard and a Squamish 50 shirt turned into the light so perfectly that when I looked at it, so he had briefly dressed up as myself. I looked at it and thought, holy shit, is that a picture of me on someone else's Instagram? Well done, Rob. Well done. What have you got for a question?
He does these really great comparisons. I think he had one earlier tonight. Would you rather eat a stick of margarine or 5 tablespoons of hot pepper sauce?
This is in line with, I don't know this person well, but yeah, this is in line with what I've seen. So is that the question being posed to me right now?
Yes.
Oh, I'd eat the stick of butter. I actually have had half a stick of butter already today. I don't do good with spicy foods. I wouldn't even hesitate. That's not even a hard question. Does he have another one? Is there another one that I should entertain?
I'm sure he will. I'm sure he'll give another one. I think he earlier asked about what
our internet just jumped. It's frozen.
Mine is?
Oh, there you go. I'm here.
Can you hear me?
I hear you. Yeah.
I believe it was him that asked this earlier, but would you rather have a tiny giraffe or a tiny rhinoceros?
That's a good question right there. I personally would rather have a tiny rhinoceros, but I'm married and don't get to make decisions, so I'm pretty sure my wife would say tiny giraffe.
And then we'll do one last question.
I think I heard a chuckle in the background. I'm not quite certain. Yeah. She wants both. Yeah, of course. Why would you want to settle? All right, last question.
Very last question, and this is from someone in the chat room as well as from me. What was one of your favorite memories from 2014 from your run season?
2014 was a really special year in terms of I got to do a lot of things. I got to travel quite a bit, and I never take that for granted. I think it's very unique, and it's never. Yeah, I've been really thankful for the season that I've had, even though it wasn't the best racing season. There were definitely some complexities to the year, some minor injuries. Picking an individual part of that year is always going to be very difficult. I'm going to default back to the Solomon Skyrun because, I mean, it's freshest in my mind, but it's really nice to end off the season on such a positive race. And just at one point in the race, I was alone. I was on a ridge. The scenery was breathtaking, and I was in Africa. And I just couldn't believe that I was running in Africa, and I was running in second place in this race that meant a lot to me, not just because of what it was, but because my season wasn't the best season that I was hoping for. It meant a lot. And there was just a moment running through the Whitberg Mountains where everything made sense. And everything was it was just one of those perfect moments in time. You know, you have those moments sometimes where you go, I want to bottle this, and I had one of those moments during that race.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you, Gary. Very much appreciate it. Get to your dinner party. Happy Gingermas to you, my friend, and thank you for
Happy Gingermas! Yes, we must do this every Gingermas.
It will happen every Gingermas, Gary. If you'll come back next year, I hope to see you before then. But
I briefly scrolled through the chat room. I didn't get to see much in there, but I did see Courtney Burt specifically saying, say hi more than once. So, hey, Courtney, I'm super excited you're coming back to the 50-50, and I saw you're in the chat room there, so awesome stuff. All right.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you, Gary Robbins. And again, everyone, go follow Gary across social media. Gary, do you want to give those shout-outs?
Yeah, I got Facebook stuff and Instagram things and Twittergram whatchamacallits. So do it. Find me on there, and I'll be there.
Love it. Happy holidays to you, my friend. And for those of you who are watching live, thank you so much. You guys continue to make this fun and inspiring. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your holiday season. Celebrate the week safely, but also have some fun, of course, because you can get out, train hard, race harder, party hardest. And we'll see you guys in the new year. Follow across social media. You know how this works. Stay tuned. There could be some more giveaways online this week. You never know. All right, we'll see you guys next week. Maybe. Maybe not. All right.
Merry Gingermas, everybody!
Merry Gingermas. Merry Gingermas.